Welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. Today our episode is Market Speculation and Struggles.
Welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast with Scott Whitwam, your blueprint to financial abundance. Settle in as we explore the mindset and methods for wealth building through real estate.
Welcome back. I'm Scott Whitwam, and today we're going to be talking about market speculations and struggles. And really, it's going to be part of a larger free-form discussion. It's about speculating about the current market, the struggles that are going on, how these struggles affect investors and how they are facing these market changes in their businesses, and how it can lead to a general next stage of growth. To do this, I've invited my friends back, investors Brian and Gina Kandesky, back with me on the podcast. Welcome back, guys. Glad to have you here this morning.
Hello.
And we don't have a script today, but we've talked about a few things that we want to talk about today and that we want to touch on. And I think we just need to do it and kind of see where it goes.
Yeah. Free flow it.
Yeah. I mean, who's going to cut us off? This is our show. We can kind of do what I want, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So let's start with the topic. I want to talk about speculating on the market and how the struggles in the market and our businesses can lead to growth. So, obviously everybody who's in real estate, and I don't care what sector in real estate you are, there's been some struggles the last couple of years, and we're still kind of facing a bit of that right now. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. We, 4 years ago when things kind of, the rates went up and everything started happening, I mean, we had about 60 to 65 flips going on. So you can imagine, summer rolled around and rates rose, homes wouldn't move. We kept lowering and lowering and lowering.
Right.
And then we ended up, thank goodness, we had good investors, some of them. But our main one, he came up with a plan. We worked through it, but it was hard. We decided to stay with it and do the right thing. And instead of, tossing in a towel and running, we decided to stick with it. And, we're getting through it. It's still some of those old lingering houses are there and issues, but it caused us to really, change what we're doing. I'm not a big runner. I'm just like, okay, let's roll the sleeves up.
Figure out what we need to do to fix this thing.
And, you've been doing it a long time. Anybody who's in real estate for a long time, they've got to reinvent themselves. Things change a lot. The market changes. So, we just came up with different ways to make money and different channels and funnels and stuff like that. Just like we were talking about before we were on, all the stuff that you're doing, and which is awesome. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like what Brian said, really going inward and thinking about, okay, this is tough. Like, we are struggling. We still have a couple houses that we're almost, they're finally listed. But yes, I mean, it was definitely a challenge for us. And like Brian said, thrown in the towel but choosing to do the right thing. But now looking at things differently and realizing, okay, we know what the market can do. And, Brian went through, and I'm sure you went through the crash in the early 2000s and stuff like that. This was a little bit different, but finding ways to better ourselves. And one of those ways is, we went and got our contractor's license, and we started diversifying ourselves a little bit more, not just doing our own flips, not just doing our own pad splits, but really focusing on giving back to the community and how we could help others with our knowledge. And the contracting business has really helped balance that all out a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say at least the last 2.5 to 3 years have been a little bit different than the 2008 crash.
Oh, yeah.
So the 2008 crash really manifests itself, 9, 10, 11, 12. But the difference was when prices dropped on houses so severely, it really affected, the traditional real estate market. But if you were flexible and you got into the short sale side of the market, you did really well. I remember having 23 short sale listings.
Oh, yeah.
We were killing it in doing short sales. Because there were still investor buyers out there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There were people.
How fun was that calling the banks all the time?
Yeah, well, it was horrible. I had a whole back end short sale team. Yeah. My wife ran it for a while, and then we transferred it over to title companies. Got involved in it, and then we worked with Davis Mild Law Firm. Uh-huh. They had a short sale division too, and so some of it is you were required to tell clients they needed to seek legal advice, right?
Yeah.
And so someone wanted to, we would get those over to Davis Miles and they would negotiate the whole back end thing. But it was a big, grueling process. But in a lot of ways, it was better because there were buyers in the market.
Yeah.
Right now, there aren't buyers in the market. I mean, you think about a market here, we're in the Phoenix area, right? So we should be seeing, 10,000 units a month selling, and we're seeing anywhere from 3,500 to 5,000 a month on a regular basis. And, people aren't excited. I mean, even when you go to buy a home as an investor now, right? So it used to be you could get, 8% interest and pay a point or something to the hard money guy, and you could get a pretty decent, especially if you knew you had a project that was going to stretch out for a year.
Yeah.
Now it's hard to do that. People are, 1099, I want points, 14, no points,
8%.
18.
I haven't heard of the 8%.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not like that now.
No, there's just no way you can find that now.
Well, there's the buyers. They're there.
There are buyers out there.
But their buying ability is so much less because of that interest rate.
Well, yeah, and that's true. Because let's say you put a house in the market for $500,000, it's 7% interest, or 6.75 or 7% interest. That's a whole different ball game than putting that $500,000 house in the market with 3% interest.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a huge swing.
Yeah, and we, talking about that, that's one of the things we're talking about, changing and shifting. So we made that one change recently where we're buying, our focus for years, for the 25 years, the majority of it was to kind of focus on that first time end buyer. And so we kind of changed a little bit where we're focusing on more of those middle, not the upper price range, but for 500,000, we're just finding that those people they have more options.
Right. So
they may have some more disposable income. They can buy down rates. So we've, like the one we just did with that hoarder house.
Yes.
We got
Bomb Squad house.
Bomb Squad, this craziness, but the sales price on that one, we bought it for 400. Sales price is like 600. So, we'll make a little bit of money, but then we're appealing to a buyer that has more means to take down.
But here's the difference between
house.
what you guys are doing. Okay. And I've seen it firsthand in real life, right? But I mean, obviously people can see it on your YouTube channel. One of the things that you're doing that not a lot of investors do, especially in a tougher market like it has been, is you guys are still doing quality work.
Yeah.
And a lot of times what happens is investors go, oh, it's much tighter out here, so I'm going to spend less. Yeah. I'm going to create a lesser quality product. Well, what happens then is it sits on the market longer. Yeah. Because the houses that sell the fastest, for investors who are watching today, the houses that sell the fastest are the nicest houses that are priced the best. Yeah. I mean, so when you walk into a house that you guys have done, if Trinity's touched it, you walk into it and it's spectacular. It's a wow house, and it's much more likely to sell. The days on market are going to be less. Yep. And the buyer pool is going to be bigger because again, in a market like this, buyers got more options.
They do. Mm-hmm. They do. Yeah. It's funny because we don't typically work. We're agents, but we typically don't, take buyers around. And we had a lead through a friend, and he just bought a brand new home. $500,000 home, and we just did like the inspection walkthrough with them. And just speaking to your point, I was, she came from the builder, so she was more used to it. Right. But I was blown away how crappy the house was. It's a $500,000 home. All the fixtures were chrome, no ceiling fan. Right. Baseboards were under 2 inches wide, and carpet everywhere. And I'm like, this is a $500,000 home. Yeah. Like, we don't do this. Yeah. I wouldn't even think about, I would spend $5 more and get a black faucet. Why are we doing chrome?
Or spend an extra $10 a linear foot and get 3.5 or 4 inch baseboards.
Yes.
It's builder grade, and
I know. Her brother's
my roots are
in the
new
business,
home,
and I was like,
so,
come on, and they're all like that.
They
but
really
to your
are.
point, in the plastic surrounds in the showers, I'm like, who does this?
Yeah. Well, Gina knows too, because she's been in that market.
Yeah,
they do make options where you can upgrade it, but a lot of times in this market, it's like, well, 500 is kind of my top of my line, so I'm going to have to do builder grade instead of going, down to the showroom and going, oh, I want this better profiled baseboard, or I want this, subway tile in the bathrooms and stuff. And again,
the builders are are eating it big time. Like they're not making
their
any
margins
money.
are way down
They're
compared to what they were.
buying, bulk to pay down,
Yeah.
and they're just not making any money. It's a tough gig. And so margins are thin, they are everywhere.
Well, the other thing I've seen, and I've had a couple clients referred to me from some law offices to try to come up with a solution. They're in the midst of trying to sue, the builder and come up with some solutions. Because as a contractor and as a real estate broker, I can put a couple different sets of eyes in a single walkthrough. And you can tell that the builders are also trying to find cheaper labor.
Yeah.
Because you go into some of these builders who have always been known for very good quality, and you walk in and you see subway tile that's not straight.
Yeah.
You see grout that's coming apart. So obviously, one of the problems that they're having is that they're going, hey, yeah, our normal guy is, $20 a square foot to put this tile on the wall. We can get a guy for 17 or 16, and now they're having issues after the fact.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see what builder you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say.
I know off camera, but it's
on air,
interesting.
but-
I mean, the struggle is real for the builders as well. They have, like Brian said, a little bit more buying power with their mortgage companies to buy down those rates. So as investors, we're competing against the builder in terms of, our client that just got into this new home, if it would have been FHA, he had a 3.99% interest rate. He couldn't qualify for FHA, so then it's conventional, but they have that power. And so buyers really have to decide, hey, what's more important to me now? That lower interest rate, or can I love the home, date the rate, and then refinance later and everything?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like Brian said, it's appeasing to a slightly different market at this time. People that can afford a little bit nicer. We're purchasing homes that are a little bit newer and nicer neighborhoods and kind of putting our little seal of approval. But there's nothing like finishing a house and feeling like, I'm really proud of this.
Yeah, you're proud of it. Hey, this will compete against a new build.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize, too, in the new build community that on average, builders make about 8%. When I went through my new home builder, what is it? The CRS new build certification program, through the CRS program. One of the things that you go through is all of the, reasons why builders and how they scale their prices and stuff. There's a lot of overhead. You worked in it, you know that there's a lot of overhead in building a new home. A lot of times they're not picking that land up cheap. They've got joint venture projects on the land. So, they're in some kind of joint venture. So they've got to pay for that land at exorbitant prices. But on average, they make about 8%. And that's kind of what Wall Street is expecting from some of these big builders. But you get in a market crunch like this, they're giving away appliances, they're doing the rate buy downs for you. There's a lot of things that they're giving up, and it comes off their bottom line. So they're trying to find places that they can absorb it, which gives, in this kind of market, which gives your product a higher value.
Yeah.
You can turn this struggle in this market into a competitive product against new home builders by going through and actually reconditioning something, so that when somebody walks through the front door, it's like they got a brand new home.
Yeah. And seeing the black faucets over the chrome faucets and everything. But yeah, not only are we dealing with that, but I know in the month of June that there were more cancellations than in the last few years, other than when COVID hit and everybody got scared and people started canceling, and the market did completely the opposite. But more cancellation of real estate transactions in the month of June than there's been in a long time. And I really have to think that has to do with the interest rate that we're fighting, and people sign a contract, and then as they go through the loan process, the lender gets further along the road and
tells them
realize
what the payment is.
Yeah, they see the payment and they're like, oh my gosh, $3,900, and everything.
Well, let's face this. Anytime you're working with a lender, they're always saying, well, things will be better in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, lenders. I work with them all the time. And a lot of them, this is temporary, don't worry. 3 years ago, I have a lender friend who was telling everybody, don't worry about it. This is just temporary. Remember when Yellen and Powell were all talking about this transitory inflation and don't worry, it's not. And they were all talking about just go ahead and buy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We'll be able to refinance you in 6 months and get you back down into a 3% rate.
Yeah.
Well, how well did that work out? So and that's what happens. You go into a new build and you're believing, especially, in this year when everybody has expected the Fed to have already had a couple rate cuts. And now every month it's like, oh, we thought things would be a little bit lower.
Yeah.
Now they get to the time where they've got to pull the trigger,
Mm-hmm.
and they realize that their payment's going to be pretty, substantial. But
this crash compared to, the 2006, 7, 8, where everything kind of just fell apart. Like the prices dropped, inventory skyrocketed. This one has always been weird.
Yes.
So I track, actives, single family residents in Maricopa County, and it's low. I mean, we're like a little below 18,000 active single family residences on the MLS. And, that's maybe 3-4 months of inventory.
Of supply, yeah.
That's not much.
Right.
And it's stayed there. I mean, we've, it's gone down like the last 6 weeks, gone down like 2,000 homes. So we're, I guess, picking up. Right.
I go look at the
by
amount
looking
of
at the
go look at the amount of canceled listings.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. This went on 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Our inventory was low.
Right.
Our prices are not dropping drastically.
No.
If not, they're going up a little bit. What's happening?
Yeah.
It's weird.
We're in a weird time because not only in the real estate market. Okay, so let's just go look at the stock market. I mean, how many of you looked at price of gold lately? It's at what, $3,400-$3,500 an ounce, right? Normally when gold goes up, what happens in the stock market? It goes down.
Huh.
Normally gold is the hedge when the market is going down. So, and when gold goes down, it's normally the stock market's going up because people are pulling out of, tangible assets like gold, silver, platinum, and they're going into stocks. But right now gold's high and the stock market's high.
Yeah.
And, it's really not explainable. The dollar has even started to stabilize and gain a little bit of ground. I mean, it's just, we are living in a weird time, which is causing a lot of struggles for people who, go, oh, well, when this happens, I do this, right? Well, the problem is none of those conditions are existing. And, coming through this, there's a lot of people that have been just laid out. I've talked to a couple big investors, and both of them, and both of them have lost over $1 million in this market change and swing.
Yeah.
Now, they've been able to, in the last year and a half, kind of get their feet back into the ground. But still, it takes a while to recover from that kind of hit in this thing.
Yeah.
It's a real struggle. And like you were talking about up front, you've got to come up with some ways of figuring out what are you going to do different in order to be profitable and get through it, kind of into the next, kind of facilitate that new journey that you're going to be on.
I kind of look at like, if you have 2 different lanes here, you've got, problems in your life and you got problems in your business. They're when people have those come into their lives, that they either attack it,
right,
or they just drink or smoke or hide from the problems.
Right. Yeah. They probably try to push it down with something.
Yeah. So, and part of it is just kind of the way we're made, we're just going to survive and we're going to tackle it. Right. So, and God puts these things in our lives for a reason. And, when you just tackle it and you start going to work on whether it's yourself or your business. And that's kind of what we did when this was happening.
Well, I think you were talking about this as being kind of the journey through your personal development.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can either fold, which means, try to suppress it, or do exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
What are you going to do to facilitate the journey into this new season? Because things aren't like they were.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do to facilitate this for personal development?
And it's just like, you can look at business or whatever you're looking at. When stuff like this happens, where the market kind of changes in whatever industry, you'll find yourself having a little bit more time. Right. So that's where you start kind of looking into yourself, you're praying, and you're just like, that's where you can sit down and really dive into what maybe this is your passion somewhere else. This is what you really want to do. And so you have extra time to maybe work on that, and Gina and I, just for an example, like, we're not speakers and, but we've really started on the side. We're starting to do some content and stuff like that. And the passion behind it is because, we love real estate. We love God. We want to, when you get older, you kind of want to share.
Well, you want to help
some
people.
of your lessons that you've learned. And so, we started doing this. We started doing some pad splits like that. That has been solid investment. If people want to be in real estate and they want cash flow, the traditional way, you cannot make money with a traditional renter because of the rates, the prices, and with pad split, you can get your expenses covered. You can help out community. And then, so we've kind of, we've done that, and then we're passionate about it. So then we're helping other people grow their pad split business. And so we've got our contractor license. We're building pad split. We were not doing this 4 years ago.
Right.
So this is my point is I always say that I'm not hireable. This is what I am doing for a living. So I have to figure it out. That's kind of the way, we've approached it, but we've kind of reinvented ourselves. And, I feel like, I'm at another point where I'm just like, yeah, I got more work to do. I'm always feeling like I got more work to do because it's changing and the market's changing, and you've got to kind of grow and adapt.
Well, I think people underestimate God's creation and its ability to be resilient. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we face challenges and we just go, oh, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Well, why can't you?
Yeah.
What's limiting you? What's stopping you? And so maybe it's, hey, well, let's look at doing something we've never done before.
Yeah.
Let's start a construction company. Let's become a premier pad split construction company.
Yeah.
Let's help other people understand the pad split to do all the things that you talked about. And sometimes it takes personal development. Now, I know you guys are really good about your routine. You guys are in the gym, you're working out. What about people who are facing the challenges in this journey because of the struggles you're going through, and looking inside and going, I've neglected this thing.
Yeah.
If I don't take care of changing the way I eat, changing the way I exercise and work out, I'm not going to live the life that I want to live when I get to be 50, 60, and 70 years old. So maybe now some introspective, peering, kind of makes a difference. And I know that you've talked about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like what Brian said, you had to reinvent yourself. So you're reinventing yourself, not only in the business aspect, but also reinventing your mindset.
Right.
Hey, I've been so set in my ways and this is how things go. All of a sudden, a downpour happens, and a big downpour happens. And so you have to really just absorb that rain, let it soak in, because God is watering that seed for you. He's really okay, let's water that seed. Let's see what you need to do.
Right.
And so, during the last 4 years, we've done a lot of that in many different areas. But really, it's just breaking it down. And like Brian said, you said as well, Scott, you really need to just look at all areas of your life, your finances, your relationships, your relationship with God, your work, all your fitness and your spiritual well-being, and just think, okay, what do I need to do? And if you have to break it down step by step, you can do a little bit each day to kind of start focusing on that. And, we're constantly doing that, every day.
Yeah.
I know last week I was really trying to process some things and going through God's promises. And I went inside myself, and I'm not usually an inside quiet person. Brian and I, we usually talk through everything, but for some reason, whatever change we were going through really had me look inside and just quiet my mind and really listen to what God was saying. And by the end of the week, whoo,
yeah,
we saw some really sunny days.
Well,
we did.
Well, let's talk about that, Gina. Maybe you could start this kind of off on this, the journey we're talking about here. Having God at the center of your journey in order to lead you to the place where you want to be. And I know that in your and Brian's life that has been a big transformation in the last few years for you. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, we touched on this before. I'm more of the newer Christian, so I'm all excited about everything. But doing that mind shift from taking the world revolving around me and my needs and moving it to the world revolves around God, and God is my center point.
Right.
Everything that I do needs to be from him above, and everything that happens to us or that is given to me or my gifts is from God. So really it's about that mind shift of like, oh, the world around revolves around me. You know, I got this award because I did so great, or, you know, my kids are so awesome because I raised them well, or something like that, and say, wait, stop. I need to remove myself from it and really focus on God being the center and give him all the praise. And that's really important.
What a difference it not only makes in your life, because obviously it helps to bring a center to things. So when you're facing struggles, you're not facing them alone anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It's not all on you. It's not all on your shoulders. But what a difference it makes too for others, because now your interactions with other people are about helping them and elevating them. And that really builds relationships.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if I can do something to help you, now all of a sudden, without trying to, I'm elevated in your eyes, and vice versa. When you're helping other people, they're like, hey, these are the guys you need, because look how they went out of the way for me. But you're not doing that because you're trying to be big in their eyes. You're doing it because you realize that we want other people to experience the goodness that God has put into our life.
Yeah.
And it makes a big difference. And, you know, so I think that perspective that you have is pretty awesome. And I know it's great that you two guys get to do this together.
Yeah.
But we need to close it up. This has been an awesome time. I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. Be sure to check out our growing list of previous episodes and other real estate investing topics. I invite you to subscribe today and be part of our growing community. You can always find the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart Podcast, YouTube, or wherever you enjoy listening to podcasts. This is Scott Whitwam. Be sure to join our next episode of the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast, where we're wealth building through real estate.